Sup, my friends, and welcome back to the Dragon's Lair. This is the Taoist Dragon of the Epic Peeps fam, but you can call me Toasty. And yeah. So, for those of you who are not familiar with what's going on in YouTube, there's been this huge event. It's COPPA. Um, I'm going to just summarize what it is for those of you who don't know. I just want to say that I'm not trying to spread internet drama. I'm not even making this video to be clickbait or, like, I want more views on my channel. No, COPPA is the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. And it's nothing new, honestly. It came out in the 90s. And it's because children don't have, like worldly knowledge, So they don't necessarily know when it's a bad idea to send like private information online, like their name or address like that. And it makes them easier targets. So, like, predators and stuff like that could find that information and track your kids down, and nobody wants that. So, the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, uh, yeah, it's like the reason why when you go to websites and you sign up, they're like you have to be over 13 years of age to use the service, things like that. And it just comes down to websites aren't allowed to track information on kids. Now, what's happening with COPPA recently was the bill was due to be reworked in like 2023, but got pushed because of child advocacy groups. That's a weird word. But they sued YouTube successfully by claiming that YouTube was collecting information on kids in the form of like ads, and that YouTube was lying that they were a service for people 13 years and older. So it's no secret that YouTube has ads on its videos. There's a bunch of them, and there's essentially two different kinds of ads, and the one that's in question is personalized ads. Personalized ads are where most of the income comes from, especially if we're talking about creator revenue. But even in general, it's just seeing that personalized ads get more clicks and generate more income. And a personalized ad is just that. It's an ad that, through looking at your personal information, plays something specific for you. So this is done by cookies. Web cookie is just like data saved by the site and like your computer and stuff. It's data. It's like your credit cards or your name or whatever. And it's like a cache of that information. That way you can you quickly have that information be entered for you. You don't have to keep entering in every time you need it. But also, there's the other information, such as like your browser history. And that's more of what companies are interested in, because they look at your browser history, look at what you're interested in, and then play personalized ads based on that. And pretty much YouTube has been playing personalized ads on all of its videos, which include videos for kids. Now, let's be fair, we all knew that there's content on YouTube for kids, and YouTube has been kind of getting around things by saying that no, YouTube itself is for people over 13, and we have YouTube Kids for our kids' content. That's specifically for kids under 13, and we don't collect information there. And it worked for a while, in terms of like the government not stepping in and being like, no, you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. But child advocacy groups, such a weird word. But yeah, so they pressured the FTC into doing a lawsuit against YouTube under the whole thing of like, hey, YouTube is lying. They actually do have a lot of kids, and there's all sorts of articles online about how most kids under 13 watch YouTube for their entertainment. So the lawsuit was successful, and now this is just kind of like the backlash of that lawsuit. And part of that, and what's really freaking out creators, is we have to mark our videos as safe for children or not. And if you mark it as safe for children, then like personalized ads can no longer be played on it. Generalized ads can be, but in terms of creator revenue, that's like, I don't even know if you technically get money off that, but don't quote me. I will just say that in general, those ads, again, don't earn as much as personalized ads. So even if it's like you got something from it, it's not much. But the bigger issue for creators is that they're not allowed to, those videos aren't recommended from YouTube. You can't like ring the bell, that's a very technical thing. That's when you like sign up for notifications on a channel. And so like if you hit that little like bell icon next to the subscribe button, whenever a new video is up, you get a message like on YouTube and stuff like that, yada yada. You can't do that on videos or channels made for kids. And yeah, I suppose it doesn't keep you from advertising on your own, but pretty much YouTube will not show your video at all, and you won't be able to make money off it. So that's what's freaking out a lot of people. Well, okay, now what's freaking them out more is if you mark your video as not for kids. So none of that stuff happens. You can still earn money on it regularly. It's going to be looked at by the government. And that's a big thing about COPPA. Some people may think that it is just a YouTube policy thing. It's not. It is the law. It's the government. They will look at it, and if they deem that your video is not safe if they deem your video is for kids, then you get a fine. And you get a fine of like $42,000 per video infraction, plus your channel's deleted and all that good stuff. Oh, that was very long-winded. There's all sorts of videos out on this, and I don't want this to really be the focus of the video. I'm just trying to explain it to people who may not be as familiar. But I want to break it down to the key points. One of the things that's not really being talked about with COPPA is that with the last YouTube policy change, they mentioned that channels that were no longer commercially viable were going to be deleted. And I feel like this relates to COPPA. And that we shouldn't forget that. It was one of the videos that I was watching about COPPA that sort of like brought up like YouTube's been lying about us to us and things like that. And it's like it made me remember that. It's like, wait a minute. You're right, because YouTube did say something. I mean, he didn't say in the video, he didn't mention that little tidbit. He's just saying that I forget exactly what he was saying. It was something along the tunes of this. It would be a way for like YouTube to like track channels and like get rid of them. It's like, you know what? They even said that plainly. And there's that. I feel like in order to even like save their own butts, this is more of an apocalyptic scenario. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not really into conspiracies. And I don't feel like it would be this ultimately. I do feel like they will delete some channels that are marked for kids because they're not commercially viable. again, they can't play ads on it. They can't even show it around. So yeah, but ultimately, I feel like that's just legal language from them to be like, okay, this channel was for kids. We can get rid of it, and then say YouTube isn't for kids. The other big thing is the for kids. Okay, so COPPA originally just covered children intended entertainment, which means that if you intended the video to be watched by kids, then it would fall under this act, and you had to make sure that you're following the general guidelines. Like, hey, can't track the information being given out because the kids watching, yada yada. It has been updated to include child attractant, and a thing that's freaking me out too, and other people, of course, is that is vague. And of course, there's just like this generalized thing of like things that are intended to attract any audience, such as having like really vibrant thumbnails and stuff like that, is going to attract kids too. I mean, it's just that it's eye catching, so of course it's going to catch people's eyes. So even though you didn't intend the video to be watched by kids, it could be labeled as such, and it may not be. They might have more of an idea about what they're trying to say than we do. The language is kind of hard. A lot of people talk about that, and it's kind of hard to just deem if your video is for kids or not. But keep in mind, marking your video for kids means that you get no ads on it. Fine. For me, that's not even personally an issue. I don't get money from YouTube. Marking your video not for kids, that's the issue. If you mark it for kids and then it's deemed that it actually is, then you get the fine, and it's 42 grand. Which brings me to sort of my thoughts about this whole thing, which is, I do feel like at some level it was people trying to protect kids, but if you look at this new language, it's really just about money. It's about hurting YouTube by targeting ads, but it's not even about kids. And you can look at it as vaguely as, or not vaguely, but just look at it generally, in the sense that videos that are marked for kids aren't what's really being looked at. It's the videos that aren't being marked for kids. So they're looking at those videos that aren't being marked for kids and saying, hey, are you really not for kids? And if they think that you are for kids, then you get a fine. It's not even that they're trying to look at the content and be like, this isn't safe for kids. They're not trying to weed through all those videos that might look good to like kids. Like, I'm thinking of, I forget the name of the show, but it was like this horror story of like this popular kids show about like the pagan stuff, but then they turned it like really dark and twisted and mature, and it was sort of like a sick joke on the creator's part of those videos. It's things like that, but they're not worried about things like that, because technically, if you think about the language, that is designed to attract kids. And therefore it should be labeled as that, right? And if it's labeled as that, that means that kids should be able to watch it just fine and then get horrible nightmares because it's really messed up stuff. But then again, the act isn't supposed to be about parenting your children. The act is supposed to be about protecting their privacy. So you have to look at it right now. What they're saying is that personalized ads is a breach of that like protection. And I honestly don't have an opinion on this either way, because I don't understand enough about how cookies work, how the tracking works. And it's not like the companies are tracking this information innocently. It's not like they're out to do bad things to your kids, you know. In that sense, it's fine. They're just out there to make money, you know. So it's more about playing ads that they're more likely to engage with. And then you have to ask yourself, is like, is this a bad breach of privacy? And maybe it is. I'm not going to say either way. And I don't know how far the rabbit hole goes down on that. For me personally, it's like, uh, you know, I don't have anything in mind. I started to say that, but I don't have anything in mind. Uh, but pretty much COPPA, this, well, not even COPPA, this update to COPPA is just a government crackdown on YouTube. And that's what it is. So, yeah, I feel like, heck, even my channel would probably be safe. I don't feel like it's being blown out of proportion. Well, it's weird because some aspects might be and some aspects probably aren't. It's just a huge risk, and it's not one I can take. The ultimate thing is that the language used in the laws and stuff about what appeals to children is a little too vague for my liking and a lot of creators' liking. Because, again, like, bright, vibrant colors is classified as being children attracted, which that's a really weird and kind of disturbing way to use that language, but I'm pretty sure it's what's in the law. But that's based off a video that I watched of like one of the lawyer channels on YouTube. He used that language specifically because, again, they're just expanding the law to say that even if you didn't intend kids to watch it, kids would likely watch it. So even things that aren't family friendly, such as like gaming channels that might be for adults, because kids like games, they may watch that, and therefore you can't have personalized ads because right now that's being declared as a breach of privacy, or a dangerous breach of privacy, I should say. Though I'm not sure how much the law actually gets into the specifics of if that's what where you need to draw the line. Like, oh, is it okay to collect kids' information sometimes or not? Okay, so this video isn't really about COPPA. This video is about what COPPA means to me and you guys as my fans. And I'll just be honest, I can't risk the fines and stuff like that. So on one hand, I guess I could label my video as for kids and probably be just safe, even though at that point it would no longer be recommended on YouTube, and well, it's not like I'm earning money anyway, so who gives a darn. But this is like, a lot of my videos were not intended for kids. And I did stop swearing and things like that. But honestly, I always was aiming for an older audience. I was aiming for people who were like teenagers and on. It was just that I didn't want to swear, but I always said it's like, I'm not really family friendly. I'm not trying to be. I am just trying to well, not even trying to, because like the themes and stuff that I would bring up, I didn't want to limit myself, you know. I didn't want to say I'm not going to play this horror game because kids could be watching. So yeah. But even like with all that said, it's like, are we considering that kids will be watching the more mature stuff? Are they thinking about that? Sorry, I kicked my table. It's like, is that going to be something that they are like, well, even though you're playing this very violent video game with lots of blood and guts, there are kids watching it, and therefore it should be marked for kids. Uh, I don't know. That's like getting the conspiracy theory stuff right there. But honestly, I feel like COPPA is just or not even COPPA, this update. Let's be clear because people will think like, oh no, it's this big new thing when it really isn't. But this update to COPPA is really just designed to hurt YouTube. And unfortunately, creators are going to be hurt in that process. And I just can't afford to be one of them. So here we go. What COPPA means to me is if this stuff goes through, it still hasn't. There's like a petition stuff being circulated around, and I'll link to that in the description. If this stuff doesn't go through as it is currently, then we're fine. But if the changes to the law go through as they are, I'll. All right. So like, if they go through as they are, I will have to like delete the channel. And I hate saying that. And I'm still debating internally. It's like maybe I could just make the videos private and just wait to see if changes happen to the law and things like that, which is all well and good. Ultimately, what this comes down to is not me freaking out as much as me saying I can't deal with this, because I can't. I have school and things like that. I don't have the time to go through my entire catalog to be like, oh, this is for kids and this is for not, which makes me sound lazy. It's just YouTubing doesn't even get me an income. It's just me doing like a passion project because I do want to do like videos or something creative for income, but it's not like it's happening now. But that's not the point. The point is I can't risk being like the off chance that the government's like, oh, this was marked as not for kids, even though it should be marked for kids. Here's 42 grand fined, or even upwards. And even on stuff that might be like when I was still swearing in my videos. So just because I don't swear in like the first 30 seconds, but I'm playing like this game, they're like, oh yeah, that was totally fine for kids. I'm like, I dropped 5 F-bombs in a row right in the halfway mark of the video. I gotta wrap this up. And yeah, I just want to tell you guys I'm fine. It's not even that I'm worried about. That's not quite the right way of wording it. I've had a good run at the very least, and I got to know all of you, and that has made YouTube worth it. And it's never really about being like big and famous or even making YouTube something that earns money. So I'm like, on that aspect, I would be fine if I had to just cut my ties with the channel. And I'd probably just go over to Twitch. No, not even probably. I would just focus more on Twitch. So it's not even like the end of the world for me. It would just be the end of the YouTube channel, which is still a big deal because there's a lot of you guys here, and I don't want to diminish that. Even one person watching is a big deal. So it's not like, oh no, it's totally fine. I'm not famous, so who cares? It's not that. On that end, it is tragic. And I hope I don't have to. In a way, it's like, well, you're imposing this on yourself. You don't have to delete your channel. And I get that. This is me being very overly cautious because I just can't risk 42 grand. I can't. And I'm sure you understand that. That's pretty much it. We'll leave this here. I believe I mentioned the fact that YouTube mentioned in its policy update the last time that they're going to be doing a purge of channels. I just want to point that out there because this is a big deal, guys, and I don't feel like uh, I don't feel like on one hand it's like necessarily the end of YouTube. It's like they could potentially recover. We've seen a bunch of things like Adpocalypse, which has probably desensitized us. It's like, oh, you guys are just freaking out. And on some hand, yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm just saying it's like this is really just it is a big deal in the sense that they are being serious right now. And they are going to be targeting some people, and people are going to get hurt. It's not even like family friendly people who no longer can have a channel. They're not going to necessarily be the only targets. They're going to get some people. The FTC themselves have already said that they're doing sweeps of YouTube and they're going to be finding channels to find. So, yes, this is just what it is, which is a government crackdown on YouTube. And even if it's YouTube's fault, it's still on us now, and we're going to get hurt. But that being said, it probably won't be as bad in proportion as some people think it is. But I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't want to hazard a guess. I did say something about Adpocalypse and how that was kind of sad, but ultimately that wasn't even that bad. And I feel at the time I was like, yeah, this sucks, but it's not like the end of the world. And I don't feel like this is the end of the world. Man, I'm going off on this huge tangent because I'm like, man, I'm really not trying to do like a conspiracy theory. I'm not some crazy old bat on the middle of the street with a sign saying that the world's going to end. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just looking at all the videos, which admittedly a lot of them are biased. And I wouldn't mind if you guys know some other things that are talking about the pros of this policy change. If you send that my way, because I'd like to know. Okay, I've rambled on too much. I have to get ready for work. I just wanted to let you guys know what was potentially in the future. So, yeah. I hope this isn't it. Man, that just seems weird. We'll just have to play it by ear. If I ultimately decide to delete the channel, I will have another video talking about that, obviously. And yeah, we'll just play it by ear. Thank you so much for listening to my rant, and you guys stay amazing.